All right, guys, in this video, I'm going to talk about how getting $1,700 a month for a $400,000 house here in Asheville is actually going to cost you money and you will be cash flow negative. My name is Rodrigo, founder with Vesta Property Management. Welcome to the YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends, leave a comment, tell me why I'm wrong, tell me why I'm right. Doesn't matter what the answer is. I want to hear from you. I wanted to go through this exercise because there's a common understanding or there's a common complaint, I guess you could say, that rents in Asheville are too high. And we'll do a whole another video on pricing on another moment in another show, anecdote, and talk about this again later. I do think that we're looking at some of the lowest rents right now that we've seen in Asheville since like 2015 to the 2017 window or so. But we'll set that aside for now. Right now, let's assume you have a property that's worth or taxed at value of $400,000 and you're renting it out at $1,700 a month. This would be maybe like a 1-1 or a 2-bedroom, 1-bath type of setup. There's also a couple of assumptions I'm going to make, and this is an assumption that this is a property that's inside of Asheville city limits. And so it's getting taxed both at the county level and at the city level. I'm obviously making some projections around what insurance and taxes are going to be, but this is kind of a guiding stick, and we'll dig into these numbers and you'll see. The last assumption I'll mention is property management. We're assuming that there's a 10% management, and then we'll talk about vacancy and repairs as we get there. So $1,700 a month, where does that money go? So you've been paying your management company or your landlord $1,700 a month in rent, and you're like, this is ridiculous. It's so expensive. I can't believe that they don't lower the rent. Well, here's the behind the scenes look as to why those numbers are not going to go down and why over time they do have to go up. $1,700 a month, principal and interest only. So this is just your mortgage payment, not taking into account your taxes and insurance. So just principal and interest. Projected is $1,528 a month. So $1,500 a month on your mortgage. Property taxes are going to be $366 a month. Insurance is going to be about $175. Property management, 10% is going to be $170. Maintenance, 10%, $170. CapEx reserves, that's $130 a month, which is 7.5%. And then vacancy at 5% or $85. If you follow through with all those assumptions, you're going to get to a point where you got a negative cash flow of $924. That is not a good picture. It's actually kind of a scary picture if you're the one who owns the property. And if you're the tenant, then this should be a positive picture because you see that somebody right now is coming out of pocket just to keep the house on and available in the market. And so, of course, there's some assumptions here that aren't always going to be true. You have some wiggle room. How much you pay in management is something that can be negotiated. It can even go down to zero if you wanted to. Repairs, vacancy, CapEx are all things that are not necessarily always a monthly cost. And so month over month, you're going to see these numbers change a little bit. But if you're looking at these numbers on a year-to-year basis, the longer you stretch it out, the more accurate these numbers are going to be. And what I mean by that is if you have an occupied property on a 12-month lease and you go 12 months without any vacancy, then of course you don't have any vacancy costs. That's $85 times 12. I don't know what that math is off the top of my head, but it's more than $850. And so there is some substantial change in how property cash flows on the short term and also on the long term. So this is not necessarily a positive picture. And so then the next question is, why would somebody own a property that's cash flow negative? I can't speak to everybody, but we do have a couple of properties that we own personally that are cash flow negative because rents don't always go up. So coming out of Helene, as an example, we saw that property rental prices came down and have stayed down since then. They've stabilized a little bit, and I do think they're going to start going up, and maybe near the back end of this year, we'll be able to see that. But until those property prices start going up, we're running at break even or even cash flow negative on some of our properties because of taxes. Taxes went up this year. Insurance, the same thing. Insurance went up. Everything that is associated with owning a rental property has gone up this year, except for rents. Rents have gone down or stabilized and flatlined a little bit. So you see that $1,700 a month cash flowing property is actually cash flow negative. What do you do with that information? Nothing really. If you're a property owner, you kind of just stinks to be in a situation like that, or you purchased it knowingly and you're not buying rental property for cash flow positive reasons. Maybe there's other, tax or whatever, the way you're constructing your portfolio. But if you're a tenant and you're a renter, this is important. It's a good reminder that just because somebody is a landlord does not mean that they're making money every month. Owning a property is expensive. It takes energy and it definitely takes resources. So if you're considering buying a property as a rental, don't forget the hidden costs: management, CapEx, maintenance, reserves, vacancy, etc. Some of those things on that assumption I made, if you look here at the bottom section of this chart, can all be taken to zero on a short-term basis. If they are zero forever, though, you will all of a sudden have one big line item that says roof, and that's going to be a lot more than the $85 a month that are getting pulled out. Hopefully this video is helpful. It's just a reminder that rent is not necessarily all just going into somebody's pocket. It's going in and it's covering a lot of expenses. There's a lot of costs associated with owning rental property, and that's a good reminder for current owners, for future owners, and for residents. Properties cost money to maintain. That's why rents are what they are, and that's why rents will continue to go up. The more taxes go up, the more insurance goes up, rents will eventually follow, because people will not own properties that are cash flow negative forever. They might do it for a year, they might do it for 2, but they're not going to do it for 30. If you have any questions, if you agree, if you disagree, if I'm forgetting a number, please tell me why below, tell me why I'm right, tell me why I'm wrong. Love to hear from you. Thank you guys once again. My name is Rodrigo with Vesta Property Management, and we'll see you on the next one.